Alright, seventh video. You know, some things being a fan of MMA has taught me, and with those certain teachings, you learn something. And that's what you really learned is you didn't know anything to begin with. What I mean by that is if you look at what happened recently in the events of UFC 320, Alex Pereira just walked down Magomed and killed him, then emoted on him. Now, I can sit here and analyze the outside foot battle for you with my limited MMA knowledge, but fundamentally, what Alex did was walk down Big Ank and throw every strike with landing intent. Now, you may be asking, why am I talking about this? Well, my naive viewer, I must add that no matter how many film study you conduct, sometimes the outcome is not guaranteed on paper. Credited to Anthony Smith, that we think it is there is always that chance of the unknown and that the unpredictable, because no matter who you are picking, there's just too many factors to involve in predictions to where even if you get predictions right, it's not like we can predict the fight exactly how it will go, and that's why we love this sport. If you were to ask any prediction YouTube channel on YouTube in the MMA community, very few or almost none could have predicted the craziness and unfathomable reality of Alex having the ability to just walk down Big Ank and destroy him within a minute. Even if you did predict Pereira to walk down forward and destroy Big Ank, you could have to make the argument that it was very difficult, not impossible, to acknowledge how easy Ferrer could do it given how great Magomed Ankalaev is. Don't get it twisted. Listen, no matter what you think of Big Ank, before or after the fight, the main reason why Alex destroying Big Ank became so captivating within the MMA community is because we all are aware of how good Magomed is. Now, you may be asking me after reading the thumbnail and video title, is this video about Alex Pereira versus Magomed or Charles versus Matus? And what does that whole sesh have to do with Charles Oliveira specifically? Now, to answer that question, I will answer with two questions. Number one, do you really think I would farm more engagement time and views by talking about Alex Pereira since he is the second most popular fighter in the UFC right now? And my second question to you is, who has the most finishes in lightweight history? Now, why I ask you these two questions is because I have an answer for both of them. And that is, for the first question, I answer yes, obviously. My channel is dead. I need the engagement. The answer to my second question is Charles Oliveira. Now, Charles Oliveira is the best finisher in lightweight. But why is he the best finisher at lightweight? It's because he is just so good at submissions and jiu-jitsu. Fighters will rarely engage on him on the ground because how dangerous that jiu-jitsu game is. And what's very interesting when looking at Oliveira compared to a lot of other grapplers who have a grappling degree and enter the sport is some fighters will use their grappling skill to use it as defense, to use their evolving stand-up game. Such examples, just one that comes to mind is Kamaru Usman versus Hamzat Chimaev. And now you may also argue why not use other examples. It's just this one is one that I can think of at this moment, but I'm getting sidetracked. Kamaru Usman, despite being a very solid wrestler, his game plan was not to use it offensively and instead strike with Hamzat. And look, guys, I'm aware Kamaru shot takedowns on him and did engage him in the wrestling. I'm just arguing that it was not his main source of offense to win this fight because he respected the grappling or wrestling of Hamzat. Now, what Charles Oliveira and Alex Pereira share in common is that, well, for one, they're Brazilians, right? That's what we know for sure. Now, the second thing I don't know or sure of, I'm just going based on their actions, right, and that's the belief in what they are good at. Alex Pereira's style is not meant to win decisions. Oh well, not win close ones. I'm not saying he can't. Just he hits so hard. He's so accurate when moving forward, and he has so much aura on the feet, and he knows that, right? Now, answer me this: who else is really good at finding finishes while pressuring, and has so much aura on the ground? That's right, Charles Oliveira. Because, listen, man, I know he got murdered by Ilya Topuria, but the fact that Ilya crucifixed him, one of the most dominant positions in wrestling, and Charles quickly found the leg. And even though he didn't submit Ilya or come close, the fact that Ilya really did not like that Ilya was very uncomfortable because he did have a solid submission position on Ilya, to where Ilya was practically crawling away from Charles. I mean, again, say what you will about the result of that fight. I know he died, but there's one thing we know about Ilya, and that this guy is the undisputed king of clip farming. If he truly believes in himself, he is not shy to express himself. For a guy who seems to shine with confidence, he was confident in his grappling against Charles, but as soon as Charles went for that leg, that confidence really decimated. Like he just said, screw that. Like another thing Charles is like really good at is like the clinch. His double under clinch is really solid. I mean, if you go back to the Poirier fight, his most significant damage on the feet was double under knees in the clinch, and even was able to hold Chandler in the clinch for some time. And on the feet, he hits hard. I mean, his punches, although his boxing is probably his weaker skill on the feet, it just doesn't matter because he's so powerful and does not care whether he gets it. That's another thing about Charles. That could be an advantage here. He truly is not scared to get hit. That's why his jiu-jitsu game works so good that it is. He's not scared to impose his game plan because, again, we all know how hard Ilya hits. And the fact that he had the guts, to say the least, to go for a leg lock on Ilya Topuria is next level risk taking. And that's what I think fundamentally, no matter what the game plan of attack is against Gamrot, it needs to be a plan that has a high risk take. One, to eat one, create opportunities, but in return your opponent can get those opportunities. That just who Charles is. Charles may have the best offensive pure jiu-jitsu in the UFC, but he has been submitted more times than he's lost decisions. And why is that? Because he's so confident in his jiu-jitsu that he acknowledges when the fight is over, and that's not inherently bad. I mean, if it's over, it's over, you know. But again, if he truly is aware of his jiu-jitsu capabilities, then he needs to go out on his shield, and that's what Oliveira is best at in lightweight. Going forward and getting a finish with pressure, making his opponents uncomfortable, forcing his presence, and taking advantage in those positions to force a finish or get in a dominant position, both in the feet and on the ground. Now, looking at Gamrot, there's two things that are fundamentally his game plan. He is going to put you on the mat and suffocate you, absorb your will. That's why he has so many decisions. And that's why Oliveira should be aware of that when fighting Gamrot. Wrestling has never been the strongest suit of Charles. So actively pursuing wrestling takedowns for Charles, I don't know if that's the best of ideas. Not saying impossible, but with how opportunistic Charles' fighting style really is, you can't afford to give opponents opportunities on you because although Charles might be fine, it's just no one's better at breaking you with top pressure like Gamrot. Like he just was dragged. He just drags people around and he was hitting. He can hit you with small shots. Like this really is a fight of unstoppable force meets an immovable object, to where Charles should be the immovable object, pressure Gamrot, use his offense as defense, and slowly remind Gamrot that he cannot break Charles if he's the one advancing, capitalize on his mistakes and trust in himself, and remind the fans, Gamrot and himself, that there's a reason why he has the most finishes in lightweight, because he's good at creating those opportunities. In order to create opportunity, you have to take risks, and if Charles can access that state of being, there's no way he doesn't win. Gamrot is not the same being on the back foot. All his offense is not the same off the back foot, so don't let Gamrot get this opportunity to advance, because Gamrot, all his attacks are just advancing. So if your main game plans or offensive capabilities are offense, then you just need to take away their offense, and they're free to be hit. Charles just gotta trust in himself and be aware of how good Gamrot is. All right, thanks guys. Peace. All right, guys. Or if you give me a like or a dislike, or leave me a comment on how much my mother sucks, you can leave it in the comments. No matter what, it's good for my engagement. Tell me how much I'm a loser. Tell me how much I'm all this, or tell me, am I cooking? You know, am I the craftiest vet on MMA YouTube? I mean, I don't know. You just let me know. All right, but I need that engagement, so let me know, please.